My name's Monty McKinnon, and I want to welcome you to my shop. This shop is actually a shop in progress. It's not finished yet. I've got more benches to come in here, right in here behind me. You'll see those in a subsequent video. I've got benches going over here, and we're changing this all around to make it a little more user-friendly and be able to speed up the process of building guitars and doing some better work in here. I hope to be better organized, but we'll wait, we'll see. Over my shoulder here, you'll notice there are a couple of bodies hanging here. I've had as many as 5, 6 bodies hanging in the basement here at one time. And I can tell you that when I was volunteering at the hospital and people were asking me what I was doing, what my hobby was, and I told them it was making acoustic guitars, and they said, well, do you have any? And I said, well, yes, I have 5 bodies hanging in the basement right now. And they did a double take and they looked at me like I was a little crazy. But as you can see, these are the kind of bodies I'm talking about. This body here, this is a Bolivian rosewood. Even though it doesn't have the deep red tone to it, this is kind of a brown tone. I've been playing around with the back of this, and I'm sanding some of it and finishing some of it just to get a feel for what it might look like and whether or not I need to do some changes to it. So we're going to look at that. It has an armrest here, and I'm going to tell you about the armrest in just a minute. And then up here, we've got a nice shelf, a power shelf from Australia going around the sound hole. And I haven't put the bridge on this thing yet, but this is pretty nice. Now, this one, in comparison, this is a rosewood. This is East Indian rosewood. Look at the difference. And yet both of these guitars are rosewood. Just incredible. This one's bound in maple, and it's got that nice red tone that you expect with East Indian rosewood. This is one of the very first guitars that I made. It could have been as much as my 3rd guitar that I made. So what I did is when I got the thing finished and it sounded pretty good, I didn't like the neck and I didn't like the shape of the peg head. I didn't like any of that. So I've taken it off and I discarded it. And I'm going to make a new bridge here. I've got the holes already drilled, so I've got to make sure my new neck lines up properly with these holes, and I can do that. And around here is some koa. And as you know, or may not know, koa grows in Hawaii, and that's a beautiful piece of wood. And then around here is some herringbone, as opposed to the shell here on this guitar. It's kind of nice. It's more traditional to a Martin early guitar. It's a big performing guitar. It's the kind of guitar that someone like Johnny Cash would have used because it's a dreadnought. It's a full body guitar with lots of boom to it, whereas this is an OM. It's a smaller body. OM means orchestra model, and so that's the difference in these two guitars hanging there. But there's another guitar I have here that I want to talk to you about, and this is a guitar that has a lacquer finish on it, and consequently it shines quite a bit. Let me just show you this guitar. This, I'm trying to do it without any glare, and that's pretty hard, but you can see this is a Sitka top on this guitar, and you notice there's kind of some striping going across the front of that guitar. That's referred to as bear claw. If a bear was climbing a tree and he had his arms wrapped around, the claws would dig in and pull around, and that's what causes this kind of thing. Or at least that's how they liken it and what it's about. But with this Sitka top on it, it has a great sound to it. Now, notice here, if you will, the armrest. And I want to talk a little bit about the armrest. The armrest was, as far as I know, first developed by Grit Laskin in downtown Toronto. Grit has a 45-degree angle, or approximately 45-degree angle here, and it comes up. It's really nice. This is a takeoff on that, and it's rounded over more than the guitars that he made. However, it doesn't matter who you are. You'll find guitar makers everywhere. They all do their own little twist and their own little different ways of doing things. There's got to be probably dozens upon dozens of ways of making a guitar, and they're not wrong. It's just what people are used to and what they like to do. So this armrest I find really good for the arm in here, because what happens is right in here, when a guitar player has this like this, that puts pressure on that nerve that's up in there. So when you're strumming like this, it becomes really difficult because of this. So what you got to do is get some kind of relief. But if you're playing a large segment of music, it can be really hard on you to do that. So the armrest alleviates that. Now this guitar, I think you can see it, has power shell running around it. There's a couple of lines running around that with koa in the middle, and some purfling running through it. The bridge here is made of Brazilian rosewood. The fingerboard is Brazilian rosewood, and the peg head up here is Brazilian rosewood, as is the back of it. Now, that's kind of neat. I like the Brazilian. I happen to have some of this here, so it was really neat that I had the Brazilian on hand and was able to use it. Now, the tuners are go-to, and they're small. They're a mid-size, so they're kind of neat. I think the ratio is something like 18 to 1, 18 turns to 1 inch, whatever that translates out as. But this guitar has beautiful sound to it, and you'll hear somebody playing some of it in a minute. Now, I tend to do a combination when it comes to bracing on these. These are braced much like the traditional Martin with the X brace running across underneath the top, but that's when I combine the Larrivee bracing on the lower part where it runs straight across here, as opposed to the Martin bracing which runs up here on the angle. And I find that the sound really is different. Now, let me just tell you about the neck. The neck is mahogany, and we use mahogany because it's so stable and it doesn't shrink, it doesn't twist all that much. You can get some of that happening, but if you take care of the guitar and you humidify the guitar, then the guitar is fine. The same with other guitars made of walnut, and I'm going to show you a couple of walnut guitars shortly. I've got a couple of Brazilians that have been sold, but I'll try to get those back in here and show you some of that at the as soon as I can, and maybe have somebody play it. Now, there's another feature of this guitar that I want to show you, and that's right here. Can you see that? I've got a hole in the side of this, in the upper bout. This hole serves a couple of purposes. Number one, when a guitar player is doing this, the music goes out to the far end of the room, hits the wall, bounces back, and he gets to hear it. But he can also hear it even faster if it's coming from the sound hole straight up to the ear, because that's just the way it is. And you'll see some players, I've actually seen guitar players do this. They get down like this, and I'm thinking, wow, that's going to make you deaf before too long. It's really resonant, and it booms pretty good. Because the sound of a guitar comes from the top going back and forth, because this body is basically a drum. And as this moves back and forth, the air coming in here and coming out of here will conflict with one another. So air can now flow in through here and throw out here, and it doesn't conflict. And what happens is it tends to be louder with this. Look at this now. Can you hear that? There's more volume when this is open. And so that's kind of it's not a signature or anything like that. It's just something I like to do. So I will do that, and I created a jig here that I learned from a luthier in our neighboring community, who gave me some lessons and taught me how to build some really nice guitars. And he worked on this with me and helped me with this as well. So it's all a work in process. Now, so what we're going to do now is we're going to start a series, and I'm going to start building another guitar. And I will, as I build it, I'll explain each process to you. I'll show you the jigs that I've created to do the various pieces of work that need to take place. And I also need to make some additional jigs, and I'm going to show you how to do that. I'm going to remake some of the jigs that I have now because they're okay, but I think I can make them better now. So we're going to do that, and we'll have a little bit of fun. So welcome. I'm glad you're here. And so what I would like you to do, if you're interested in this, and you know what, every YouTuber and his brother tells you to do this, subscribe, hit that subscribe word that's on the YouTube video, and hit the bell so you get the notification. You know what to do. You get all of that. And so if you would like to do that, please, by all means, do it. And you may have some questions about this. And you can make a comment, and I'll try to answer all of your comments. I don't know how many people besides my wife and my daughter and maybe my son will actually watch this. But if you are interested and you would like some notification and you've got questions and you want them answered, maybe there's a couple of videos in your questions that I can do, and they won't all be this long. So welcome. And again, thank you so much for joining me today, and I'll see you on the next video. Bye for now.